What up, everybody? Man, hope everybody's enjoying their Sunday fun day. Now, for me, this is Friday night, kind of late. Not too late, but just finished watching TNA. I'll get into that in a moment. Because the title kind of says what the main topic is. Or one of the main topics that I potentially will talk about, a second topic. Let's see. Before I go any further, now you can kind of see the shirt. This is a Lance Hoyt shirt. I've known Hoyt a long time. When he was Shadow, I think, before he was Dallas, before Hoytomania, before becoming the American Psycho. I knew Lance way back when we were both pretty much getting our start. I will say this about Lance. When I first met him, or the show that I first saw him perform at, I've always said entrance is everything, or it's a large part. It's the intro. It's the first time the fans see you. So if you can really have a good entrance, you're ahead of the game. And Lance came out to certain music, and when it kicked off, it crescendoed. He came right out, perfect timing, and I was like, man, that guy's going to be a star one day. I've told him that a number of times. He and I have feuded numerous times. I bring him up because he is the star and narrator of a short film that's on YouTube. You could also probably see it on Facebook, called Bump. It's about a 9-minute video, short film, very well done. Andy Dalton is shown, as well as Mike Dell, but it's really about Lance and his views on being a part of this business, and really great stuff. Caught the eye of Mick Foley, but I really enjoyed it, and kudos to the crew, the producer, director, and whatnot of that film. I was really impressed with it. So yeah, really enjoyable view. And Reality of Wrestling returns to Nacogdoches on Friday, October 30th. And I know they got something the first weekend of November, but October 30th, they return to Nacogdoches. Pretty solid crowd last time. I expect pretty significant increase, hopefully, fingers crossed. But it was a great turnout last time, much like in spring where we had our debut last weekend. Really good stuff all around, man. Really good stuff. There was some stuff that I thought I'd never see again, and it was good to see it. Guys and gals and talent really put on a hell of a show, and it's good to be a part of it. So, but again, October 30th, Friday, the day before Halloween, so you can enjoy your Halloween. I'm not sure what we're doing for Halloween. I don't know. That's weird. It's weird. I don't know if I'm the only wrestler who just goes, well, I kind of play dress up. And although it's been a while since I've, actually performed and whatnot, I mean, it is one of those things where, well, I get to dress up plenty with wrestling. So I don't know. But I don't know. We might see, depending on what my lady love wants to do. Maybe we'll be doing something. Let's see. Also, in WWE, and probably should be no shock to anyone, continues to sign Tough Enough contestants, or former Tough Enough contestants. Patrick Clark being one of the latest, as well as Daria. I believe she was the MMA competitor. And also Mata, who was kind of a surprise that he got eliminated as early as he got eliminated. I'm not too surprised that they would. They've invested some time into some of these people, the 13 finalists for the latest season of Tough Enough. So, if they want it bad enough and WWE sees something in them, great. Also great to hear about Athena making her NXT debut. Now, I'm not sure when that will air, but I will be on the lookout for it. I'm sure she's going to be under a new name. But man, kudos to her. Let me see if, before I continue with the main topic, let's see, speaking of NXT, James Storm debuted. You got to see it. Really enjoyed the reaction he got. I don't think it's a coincidence that WWE will not mention TNA. They'll mention WCW, but again, WCW is one of their properties, so they will definitely talk about that, but they will definitely not talk about TNA. I don't have a problem with it. They didn't do it with Joe. Say they're on the independents. It is what it is, but it was good to see James Storm there, and I mean, he had a really good showing, man. Good reaction. Glad the fans gave him some love, and it's definitely showing that NXT's doing some things that are really, really cool. That was the biggest takeaway I got from this week's show. I mean, there was some stuff there, but that was the biggest takeaway. Let's see real quick. Anything else? Star Wars: The Force Awakens. How could I not? I can't fail to mention that. The Force Awakens trailer finally, I think, showed. It's online, and what a trailer. I remember the first time I saw, I guess, episode 4, which is, you know, the first one in many people's eyes, but, you know, before the 3 prequels, I've enjoyed most of Star Wars, if not all of them. I mean, you know, you got your questions about casting and certain plot points, whatnot, certain characters. But hey, man, when Return of the Jedi came out, I was all right with the Ewoks. I was fine with them. I was fine with them. I didn't wish them ill. And I was okay with Jar Jar Binks. I mean, kind of is what it is. So yeah, but I'm eager, and then a bit of a firestorm kind of like broke the internet, and then people wanting to boycott it because one of the main characters, not sure if he's the main character, what his role is, or any of that, but already people are having an issue with it. Certain people, I don't know how, you know how the internet is. It sometimes could be just a couple of people that have a problem with it, but everyone else brings it up because that's what we do. I don't really have a opinion about how they feel about it. They're entitled to their opinion and their feelings. I, for one, have no problem with it. Plus, I remember, hey, there was Lando Calrissian. And, I mean, when you really think about it, Darth Vader is voiced by James Earl Jones, and, yeah, I had no problem with it. If he had turned out to have been African American or black, I would have not had a problem with it, much like I didn't have a problem with Samuel L. Jackson in the prequels, Mace Windu and whatnot. So, yeah, I do not have a problem with it. But, great trailer, nonetheless. Oh, I will say this, something non-wrestling related, just one quick note. The 30 for 30 special called The Prince of Pennsylvania, which was on ESPN. It's brilliant. Those who probably saw Foxcatcher only got a small bit of the story, and I thought that documentary, or the 30 for 30, was really well done. Wow. It was great. Just a great docuseries overall. So, I thought I would look at Hell in a Cell and kind of give a bit of a preview. Now, it's on the network. I have the network. I will be watching it. I probably will watch it on a bit of a delay, much like I watch most of the specials now. I don't ever really watch. I take that back. I'll put it this way. WrestleMania, watched it on the network, but I watched it like really late after the event. That was WrestleMania 30. And then watched it like the next day before Raw. So I knew some of the stuff that had gone on, and we had an issue with our internet, not with the network. So I thought I would give my kind of opinions of how Hell in a Cell will go. I will, like I said, will watch it on Sunday, and I'll probably give a review of it in the next video, kind of what I thought. So kind of in, I don't know what order they're going to go in. So I looked at a place that had the card, and I just listed them, and I'll kind of go from, we'll see where we're at. The kickoff show, which I rarely see. I should see it because Booker's on it, and the ones that I have seen I've enjoyed. The pre-shows are good, or the kickoff show. But there's a 6-man that was on Raw. So this is a rematch, but it's going to kick off the show in large part because Randy Orton got hurt taking out the trash. That's not, I mean, that's happened to other pro athletes who like broke a foot, like luggage falls on it, or they reach for something funny, and the body's a delicate instrument, and no matter how hard you train, and he does have like he has had shoulder problems in the past. I remember in a situation where he separated his shoulder doing his where he gets in the zone, kind of the Hulk up, but where he's slamming the mat. I remember him slamming it so hard, and all of a sudden like his shoulder just popping out, and him having to you wish for a speedy recovery, but hey man, this probably is the best thing for him. If you think about it, gives him some time off. He can kind of come back when he so chooses. He's one of those guys that, I mean, the RKO out of nowhere stuff, I mean, he's a made man, so people can have their opinions. I've always enjoyed Randy's work as far as what he does in the ring. His persona I'm good with. The promos sometimes here or there. I feel like, he was doing, when he's motivated, man, he's one of the best, if not the best, just naturally. So, just so graceful, man. But a shame. So they're going to have the 6-man, Ziggler, Cesaro, and Neville going against Rusev, Sheamus, and King Barrett. I do like that trio, especially on SmackDown. I really enjoyed them. The little pre-tape with the three of them, and kind of the odd couple, especially with Rusev. It's kind of odd. Curious as to whether they remain a group or they don't, but I think it'd be a great dynamic, only because of just the differences. And plus, with Sheamus having the Money in the Bank, but who knows, this could be a short-lived thing. It can probably not even last past Sunday, because I see the baby faces going over in large part because the heels went over, and on Raw, and that's kind of that 50-50 booking. Plus, after what happened on SmackDown with with Cesaro taking the loss against Rollins in a very awesome match. I mean, that match was something. Good to see Rollins get the win, but also, it's a great move when the guy who's wanting to feud with you cheers for you. And I'm talking about when Cesaro runs, he's on the outside, and he runs and gives this wicked European uppercut to Rollins near the barricade, and Rollins does a phenomenal job taking it, and you don't see it in the live shot, but in the replay you see it, just the angle that they get. Cesaro hits it, and Stardust stands up and like cheers him, and it's like, it's that little stuff that you just kind of, wow, man, that was pretty awesome. Pretty awesome match, but he lost. Ziggler, man, on Miz TV, I think, let's see, they lost the 6-man to Rusev, Sheamus, and King Barrett. And then on SmackDown, him and Summer Rae were on Miz TV, and then Tyler Breeze debuted and beat Ziggler down, and I was really impressed with Breeze. I was curious what they were going to do with him, how they were going to introduce him, because I had heard about him being debuting and being pulled up to the main roster. I think it's a hell of a move, and I honestly have a feeling about what could potentially Breeze do on the main roster, but I'll get into that in a moment. Actually, it's funny. So I think for the kickoff show that the baby faces will win. I can't potentially see a heel turn now with Ziggler So I'll get into that in a moment, because the next match I would talk about is one of the more intriguing, because you're curious as to if it's actually going to happen. John Cena will take on a mystery opponent. We'll find out who it is. Bo Dallas threw his name in the hat and got quickly destroyed by Ryback on SmackDown, so it's probably not going to be him. Now, I could say Ziggler, but he had his chance a couple of weeks ago on Raw, and even though it was a great effort, he lost. So I don't know if you'd want to see that unless he were to turn full-fledged heel, which, man, just right on the cusp of what happened. Now, again, he could be, be frustrated just in general, and that's what happens. But I don't know if it's going to be him. I could say Cesaro, but again, he's in a six-man. I don't know if they'd want to make them pull double duty unnecessarily. I could say Ambrose, but I think he'll be involved somehow in the Reigns Wyatt Hell in a Cell, so I don't know if that's going to happen. So you think maybe potentially an NXT guy, and then I'm thinking maybe it could be Tyler Breeze, especially after what happened on SmackDown. Like, he said he arrived, and if Hunter's behind certain guys, especially NXT guys, behind that brand, and really wants to showcase the importance of that brand, then who better to beat John if John, in fact, is going to lose? The reason I say he may retain, even though it would be great to see that mystery opponent win it shockingly, and it would be cool if it was someone like Breeze, because he's not tainted by a loss previously against John Cena. Every other guy that I mentioned has felt the sting of loss against John, and has probably given him their best effort. So if it was someone who was kind of off guard, could catch Cena off guard, because Cena's not prepared for this guy, and he just happens to catch John on, even if it's something fluky or something where he's dominant, why not Breeze? You got Summer Rae, who would be out there, so she'd be a good person to use. It's a definitive heel, even though he's the NXT guy, and he probably would be popular at the Hell in a Cell event. But yeah, I could see Breeze. Now again, it could be anybody. Could be Ambrose. It could be somebody who's taking, potentially had the night off. We'll see. We'll see. But again, if they want to do something big, something kind of shocking, they did it with Owens, but this, I would see them potentially be willing to do more with Breeze, because he's, kind of the, I don't want to say Shawn Michaels 2.0, because no, we're not going to go there. Although that was great on Raw. Shawn Michaels on Raw, I'll get into that in a minute. The next one on here, Owens and Ryback for the IC title. I think Owens is going to win. There's very little to say. Although I will say this. I was really impressed by by Owens giving Mark Henry the pop-up powerbomb. That I thought I'd never see. I mean, now the only thing Kevin's got to do is pop-up powerbomb the Big Show. I don't think he will. No. Maybe The Undertaker. Maybe Kane. But I remember people saying, man, I can't believe Kevin Owens can do that to John Cena. And then this past Monday, he did it to Mark Henry. Impressive. His promo on SmackDown was equally impressive. I think there's real potential there. Before I continue, again, I think Owens is going to win, hands down. I think he's early enough into his reign that he should retain, because I think it's what's best for business. I think he's a good foil. You need to have babyfaces chasing him, and he's a good guy to have there because of what he brings. But back to Breeze. Another reason I think Breeze would be a good option for United States champion is because he would have the built-in thing with Ziggler, but not just Ziggler. There would be a whole slew of guys that he could potentially face. And again, I think if you have heels as champions, and you've got baby faces who are chasing, and that's hopefully the formula that's going to get people interested in the product. Hopefully, that's what you're hoping for. So again, if it spikes some kind of rating, and honestly, if you want to show, hey, WWE, we want to reward you, then you have to kind of pay attention to the show, and maybe when someone's coming on that you know for a fact it could potentially spike the ratings, that's the person to tune into. Much like the Divas Revolution. Like, if you really want change, you want the Divas Revolution to do something, even if you don't like it, still prove that you'll watch it, because it'll maybe send a message. Anyway, next one, New Day. I really like the shirt. The unicorns, man, because they make magic. It is so true. They're the hottest thing in wrestling at the moment. Unicorns, man. They can do no wrong. That shirt, I will have to get. I'm going to get it at some point, and I will wear it proudly, probably with my New Day socks. I will be getting those socks, probably. I need to go on WWEshop.com and look at it. But anyway, they're taking on the Dudley Boys for the tag team titles. Xavier Woods is potentially out of the picture. I don't foresee that. I think he'll be back at SmackDown. I mean, he wasn't on SmackDown, but I think he'll be there for Hell in a Cell. And I think the New Day will retain. I say that, and as I'm saying it, I think maybe the Dudley Boys win it. Maybe the Dudley Boys win it, because it would prolong the story. Yeah, I could see them doing something like that, pulling the trigger, potentially. Because, maybe it's time. Maybe not a long run. It's a 10-time run. They're the 10-time tag team champions. Because ultimately they're there to put over the younger talent. The New Day is great to have. One of the hottest acts. So, I don't know. Maybe potentially you could do the swap there. Unlike the next match, Charlotte against Nikki for the Divas title, Charlotte being the champion. I don't know about this one. Like, I've liked, I know the Paige thing, it's kind of, you don't know what to make of it because you want to cheer for Paige, you like Paige, but this attitude, and she's kind of back and forth, trying to be a good guy, but she's frustrated. She wants it to be about her, but it's not about her because it's about Charlotte. I like the story. I'd like a little more with Becky Lynch, at least for her music to play on occasion. But it is about Charlotte. They are trying to build Charlotte. They are trying to build that division, and I think you have to keep it on Charlotte. Because then you are truly saying it's a new time. Now, the Bellas are great. I'm a fan of theirs. Total Divas, my chick loves that show, so that's cool. And what the stuff that I have seen, it's great. The Divas are great. It's a great reality show. Probably one of the few that I will actually watch, but I don't watch it. So there you go. But they're great. But they're representative of the Divas title. Now, the Divas division at this point, but they're also indicative of that era. And maybe it is time. You take a note from what NXT's doing with their women's division, and you go, okay, we need to put that here. Some competitive matches. Maybe now this is no longer about teams. It's about the best woman being champ. And while you can have friends, ultimately, it is about competition. Maybe they could do something like that. Charlotte could kind of usher that in with the rest of the group. She, of course, could feud with Paige. She could feud with Becky. She could feud with Brie, who's got a couple wins over her, or Alicia Fox. Nikki could also remain in the picture. You got Natalya around. I mean, they replay, kind of redo what they did on NXT with Bret Hart in one corner and Ric Flair in the other. I think that'd be great for television, some great promos and whatnot. But aside from that, I mean, you got Sasha Banks, you got, Tamina and Naomi, but I mean, Sasha, Charlotte, matchup would be pretty awesome. And then again, you got Bayley up in the wings, and they're going to be signing new talent here and there. So, yeah, man, I think that match is going to surprise some people. I believe Charlotte's going to go in there, and I think most of these matches they're going to go out there and try to perform to the utmost and give the fans a great show. But I think Charlotte and Nikki, I mean, honestly, could steal the show. Because Nikki, people could argue that she's not that solid in the ring, but I've seen her have some solid stuff, and her and Charlotte have had some good chemistry from what I've seen. Charlotte being a natural is great, and I do see her retaining because of just the fact that it kind of opens up the doors for everybody. Now, I don't know, the card that I got, this was kind of where the match was, and that's Rollins and Kane for the WWE World Title. Rollins is the champion. I hear a lot of people complain. Oh, Rollins is made to look weak. He is the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. He loses a lot. He's the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Those are non-title. Now, that is a flimsy enough excuse. You do want to see your champion be dominant every time they're out there. But they did that with Brock. They did that with Brock. They kind of did that with Punk to a certain degree. At least early on, because he was a good guy. And he had a lengthy run, but he wasn't the top guy. So they've often proven that the title can be relegated at times. This will not main event the show, and that will be no fault of Rollins, because I think Rollins has done a great job. People can complain about his run. I don't have a problem with it because he's a beatable heel champion. You ultimately want, especially if they're a heel, the hope is that the babyface will be able to defeat the heel in a one-on-one matchup. You never really want the heel to be able to be dominant, because what ends up happening is it's the Brock effect, where he is so dominant that you want to cheer him. They're not ready for you to cheer Rollins. That's not probably the plan, and I would not turn him. I would keep him the way he is. I would have him cheat to retain, or lose by DQ and yet still retain, because Kane to me is a good person to have, because he doesn't lose anything by losing. He's still the Demon Kane. He's still the Undertaker's brother. He's still a legend, man. I mean, as long as he's done this character, and as well as he's done it, and he's had pretty good level of success, but at the same time, he's there to be kind of the beatable face to the beatable champion, and someone's going to have to win, and I think Rollins will retain. I don't know if Sheamus is going to cash in. He could, because he hasn't made mention of it, but again, he is in a match early in the night. Not that that really means anything. I mean, again, if Kane puts him out, you could have the tease, but I think Rollins will keep it until they find the guy he's gonna pass it to. But I don't know if he's gonna pass it. I think while they may have thought Reigns is ultimately going to be the guy, Rollins, man, he's proving to be quite. I mean, if John wasn't doing what he's doing, Rollins is like the MVP of 2015. Unfortunately, he's been having to deal with John. Now, if John does take that break, then Rollins has the next few months to really just kind of cement himself as one of the top performers. Now, again, getting to do stuff on Raw like he did with HBK, that's good. It's good use of HBK. A good way of kind of introducing. You get a kind of that rub because he's in the ring with a legend. People can say what they want about it, but at the same time, people have referred to Rollins as the next Shawn Michaels, much like they've done that with Ziggler, or with Tyler Breeze to some extent, or a whole litany of other guys that have been the next Shawn Michaels. And I really enjoyed the line from Shawn where he said, if I had a nickel for every time someone was referred to as the next Shawn Michaels, I'd be a billionaire. I thought that was a great line. But again, I don't think Rollins loses anything in that. Again, he had a great match against Cesaro, got a good, convincing win. So yeah, I think Rollins is going to retain. I think he'll keep it hopefully till WrestleMania. And who knows? He could potentially retain at WrestleMania, because I think he gets such a good reaction. Now, obviously, they need to do certain things where they don't oversaturate, and maybe, but he's the champ, so he's got to work all the time. So, but I expect those two to have a good match too. I mean, their little lumberjack match they had a couple weeks back, not too bad, not too bad. Next, probably one of the main events, Reigns against Wyatt. Now, you got the rest of the Wyatt family, especially if Luke Harper does show up. I don't know what the deal is. I will give Chris Jericho... here's the thing, man. If you post something and think deleting it's gonna go away, it's not. People have the ability to screen capture, and they can then share that. So... yeah, a good picture, and I want one of those, the Luke Harper shirts. I don't think Luke got in trouble for that. You know, probably a family or personal thing, but regardless, hopefully he's back for the pay-per-view or later on. He can always come back. I do see a lot going on in this Hell in a Cell match. A lot. Yeah, a lot. You know, I see a lot of interference. I see this thing kind of going everywhere because they're going to be that match, you know. And it's crazy to think that this is apparently the feud ender. But that's good. Maybe they take these two guys and let them go their separate ways, and then they can always come back. I mean, they've done that before where they've said, oh, this is the last match ever between us two. And it isn't. I remember Randy Orton, John Cena, they had like this big build-up for their Iron Man match to the love theme of Twilight, I believe. At least that's what I heard, and I don't recall that. I just remember hearing that song was like a love song. So whatever, say what you will. But anyway, they've done that, and then they've still battled here and there. So I don't know. I was like, Wyatt will win. But then I'm thinking, well, you have the heel champion. Now, ultimately, you could have Wyatt. I mean, that'd be kind of interesting. The Wyatts going against Rollins. That would be kind of an interesting thing. You know, if Wyatt came out of it and he's just stronger and he's got the three other members of the Wyatt clan, the Wyatt family. Maybe Sister Abigail, or maybe another member. I don't know. But, that could be one thing you go with. And then you do spin it, and you have Rollins kind of babyface it. Especially in the all-white against... that's potential. The other potential is that Reigns wins. I don't know. He's been looking really good on television. So, I could see a lot of shenanigans, and he lose... but then again, WWE might be like, no, this is the time we pull the trigger and make this guy the top guy. Rock it! I don't know. We'll see. I thought Monday Wyatt was gonna be the victor in this, but then after SmackDown, I thought maybe Reigns. I don't know, man. I don't know. Also, good to see Ric Flair. Although I've been seeing him since Charlotte has won the title, but it's still good to have him out there, especially if he wants to introduce Roman Reigns. Are doing everything they can to get that guy over, and that's kudos to them. And the main event probably of the evening, obviously, and I actually got a question about it. Let's look for that question. Yeah, I'll cover that question in a moment. But first, Taker versus Lesnar. Now, it was great to see Stone Cold. Anytime Stone Cold's on Raw, it's phenomenal. I was fine with it, even though he just was there to introduce Taker. I would have loved, they could have hyped up the network a little bit more if Brock had came out and they had done some kind of like face-off. But obviously they weren't going to, because it was going to be pretty lighthearted and they're not going to be trying to sell a fight between the two. So I was fine with Austin playing, introducing Taker. They've had quite the build-up. This is apparently the feud ender as well. What a way to end the feud. I think they've been in a Hell in a Cell before. I think Lesnar's going to win. I think they're just going to... Now, this one could have shenanigans. I mean, in a perfect world, Taker loses. We end it. Here comes Sting. He appears from the darkness in the center of the ring, and he just points the bat at Taker, and you just like, oh my god, like that would have people talking if they just did that. Like no talking, no physicality, just Sting going, no music, maybe the old school, maybe the violins from the video game from 2K15. I think that would be kind of cool. That's what it ends with, or something like that. Some kind of creepy Halloween vibe, because it would be Sting against Taker. Like I wanted to see that matchup. I still want to see that matchup just because of the entrances. I'm kind of curious as how they would do it, because I'm sure they would do it up pretty huge. And they owe Sting to some degree. They kind of owe Sting just that, but that may not happen. Either way, I think Lesnar's going to win. And ultimately in the feud. I did enjoy him on Stone Cold's or the Steve Austin show on the network. Really revealing, kind of cool to hear his view and his take on stuff. And he's legitimately kind of like not breaking kayfabe. I mean, they kind of do when it's convenient. So I got this question from, because I asked before, if there's ever a question or topic, sometimes I'll post and I'll tweet, I'll say, hey, I'm going to talk about these topics. And then I say, hey, if you have any questions. And usually I'll get one or two, but most times I don't. Which is, it's good, whatever. It's always out there. It's always that option. So even if I don't mention it, if you ever have a question or topic you want me to discuss, feel free to ask. But he wanted to ask me, this was William C. Graves, he wanted to ask me, I got a good question, how would you have booked Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar starting from when Taker interfered to Hell in a Cell? Good question, William. People have their opinion of the streak being broken. I thought it was fine, and who better to break it than Brock Lesnar? Even though people say, oh, it's a part-timer show. Well, who else would you have had it be? You could have said CM Punk. I would have been cool with that. That would have been like the big feather in his cap. He could have held that. He could have held it. And maybe it could have still played out the same way, where he just, the burden of being the streak breaker breaks him. You know, that would have been an interesting concept, especially given his kind of mentality and such. So I could have seen Punk breaking it. But it didn't happen. They decided to give it to Lesnar. I had no problem with it. The shock of it was one thing, but at the end of the day, I was like, oh man, that's cool. Kudos to Brock. So, while I may not have agreed with it wholeheartedly, I didn't have a problem with it ultimately. His interference, Taker's kind of return, even though it wasn't even really brought up because Bray had challenged Taker, and there's always this. It's crazy to think that if you read the dirt sheets, or you go on the internet and you hear people talk about Taker, it's like he should retire. He should have retired long ago. And I'm not one of those guys. I again, with the streak, I bought into the story. I thought it was, you know, if Taker was legitimately hurt, kudos to him for finishing the match. At the same time, I thought it was kind of it was poetic how it happened, how he lost, because he just looked mortal, which was something you rarely saw. You saw kind of hints of it since 25, but the reality is you rarely see Taker, especially in the supernatural dead man persona, you rarely see him be human. So I had no problem with it. So you fast forward to, I think it was Night of Champions. Do not quote me, but I think it was Night of Champions. And you had the interference. And oh my God, Taker interferes and causes Brock the championship. Which worked with Seth, and people complain about Seth's interaction, but people have to understand, what about Seth? At that point, and that's crazy to say because it's the WWE title. To an extent, it was about the title, but at the same time, it was about building the next big fight between Brock and Taker. And I would have done this probably the same thing. You don't want Brock to win it because you want to keep Rollins with the belt. Say what you will, that's the plan. So whatever continues that, while making Brock look strong, and how he looks strong enough because here comes Taker and he low blows Brock, and I would have done all that. I don't think I had a problem with the way they put it. People have a problem with it because they want clearly defined roles. At the same time, they want shades of gray, but they want shades of gray on their time. I'm cool with shades of gray when it comes to certain matchups because it tells the larger and bigger story. If you think about it, these two have battled before, and they've had battles in the past, and now this is the latest, if not last chapter, but it potentially with that matchup at SummerSlam, I was good with the finish because Taker looked better. Brock and him went toe to toe. Brock took Taker to Suplex City. That's become a thing. Brock looked legitimate, looked strong. Want to keep him strong, but you got to give Taker something. The controversy, I liked it. Now, the bell ringing, I guess there's other ways to do it, but you had to find a way to do it. I don't know what other way you could have done it. Now, you could have done some mystical thing where the lights go off and Taker is all of a sudden out of the hold. But I think that would have gotten some complaints. I think the way they did it worked. I don't know, I can't say that I would have changed anything because you would have needed a controversial finish to justify Hell in a Cell. Without taking the shine, without taking the spotlight away from those guys. Like if you had introduced other people, then it diverges. And really, this is unfinished business that needs to be handled, especially like coming out of it, like that brawl on Raw with those two, where you got the entire locker room, like that was phenomenal. Like the little stuff that they've done, like you want more physicality, but I don't know if I want more physicality. I think you got the right amount because they're two special personas that are battling again the final chapter. This final chapter, Hell in a Cell, I think that's the right way to go. How I would finish it is I don't know, like part of me goes, man, could you imagine the scenario where Taker looks like he's got it won. Maybe he hits a tombstone. Boom. He's hit maybe a second tombstone. We're talking towards the end. F5, he's, Taker's kicked out. Like, this is the battle. This is the end. You got two proud gladiators. They get into this finishing sequence. And Taker, Brock looks like he's going to hit the F5, and Taker counters it into the tombstone, and he hits it. Boom! Oh, they think it's over, and he's about to put his hands down, and when he does, the lights go out. Boom! And you just flickers, whatever. And the lights come on, and it's Sting. And he looks at, he doesn't do anything. He just points the bat. You're like, what the hell? Turns around, boom. F5, 1, 2, 3. Now, Brock just took advantage. He gets out of there. Paul's like, we gotta go, we gotta go. This is Sting. We gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go. And then you got Sting looking over Taker. And Michael Cole goes off the air with, oh my God, you're going to have to tune into Raw to see what happens next. Oh my God. Probably do it like that. Give Brock the win, but set up that matchup between Sting and Taker. That's what I would do. I wouldn't put Taker against someone else and Sting against someone else. Even though Vince may not see it, I think you want Dallas to fill up, and you don't have Austin, and you potentially may not have Rock, and you don't have Ronda. You may have to give that matchup, and maybe it's not going to be the greatest matchup, but it's going to be smoke and mirrors, and I think those two are professional enough that they can pull off a great storytelling match. I don't think people are going to complain too much. I think you're going to give everyone their childhood for one more night, and that's what WrestleMania kind of really is about. That's how I would do it. You set them up, and again, whether you want it or not, Vince, I think that's the way to go. You're going to want to fill up AT&T Stadium in Dallas, WrestleMania 32. You may have to do that. So yeah, that's probably how I would do it. Now let me see if there's anything else, any other little takeaways. Nope. So, let's see. TNA real quick, before I get into the second main topic. I will give them credit, the semicircle panel discussion between the groups, between each member of the particular group. I think that's a good touch. Yeah, I think that's a good touch. I like it. While I get the desire to fill time or even fill episodes, replaying matches that aired on pay-per-view isn't the best way. Maybe do that coming off the pay-per-view, but not weeks into the tournament. I kind of fast forward through most of that. Now, when it got towards the end of the Triple Threat, the replay of the Bound for Glory main event for the title, the big controversy, all that, which they've already covered, which they've already discussed, which is already aired. I don't know. Then to come to find out later on in the show, your future. This is your future. Now, people can complain about WWE not really looking towards the future, and I think that's kind of a false criticism, because look at NXT. I think in many ways they are building towards the future. That is the future. But having said that, you shortchanged your future 4 group by replaying the match. Because then what ended up happening is your future 4 got cut into highlights. Very quick highlight packages for those matches, or the ending sequences for those matches. I don't know. Was that the best call? I don't think so. And again, I don't like to complain about TNA. I want them to succeed because they're a wrestling product. Maybe Global Force could take their place, or ROH could take their place, or hell, NXT's taking their place as far as I'm concerned. I really look forward to NXT. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some episodes of TNA that I like, and I do like the concept, but, and no taking away from the matches, there were some good ones. But when the highlight for me is the WWE 2K16 commercial, the fire, around the fire, and everybody throwing like that thing that haunts them the most, that's saying something. Now, I'm going to say this, because I hear it often when I listen to podcasts, people that talk about the product, and they talk about Raw, because everyone talks about Raw. If you're talking about wrestling, you're talking about Raw. That does say something, probably about my listening habits, more so than what's actually out there. But for what I hear, I hear a lot of complaints about Raw and its running time of 3 hours. And that's the biggest reason the ratings is taking such a hit. I don't know how much I buy into that. And here's why. People complain about the 3 hour runtime of Raw every Monday. Too much wrestling. Yet, they clamor for the Attitude Era. That was the golden age. And don't get me wrong, before I got into the industry, that really shaped my viewing of wrestling in general. But at its peak, at its absolute peak, you had 5 hours of programming a week, every Monday. 5 hours. Now, you didn't have DVR. Now, you had your VCR, maybe you recorded one, you watched the other, you flipped back and forth. But if you were like me, Monday nights, you sat through 5 hours of wrestling programming on one night. So the complaint, I don't know. Because if you go to an ROH show, live show, and they, mind you, it's not on television, but they run pretty significantly long show. So, for me, I don't see why, I don't know if that carries as much weight. Now, I understand it's a 3 hour show, and I don't know how many shows would really do well in a 3 hour format. Nitro, to an extent, when they got to 3 hours. But Raw, I can understand, and there is some repetition. You know, sometimes they have rematches. That kind of gets to me, and most times they have rematches, and sometimes it's the same matchups, just different types. But it is what it is. I mean, it's their formula for now, and it probably will change. I think if you look at NXT, that could be the potential way it goes, but I don't know. I don't know. Well, it'd be a really interesting time if Vince steps aside, when Vince steps aside, if he steps aside, or more importantly, if Kevin Dunn steps aside. If that happens, again, they're very, you know, they're tapping into mainstream with the ESPN stuff, and I mean, they're just kind of blending in, and that's a really good step in the right direction. And finally, I saw this post, this GoFundMe post. I see them often. Bands do it, movies do it. Kickstarter, there's that as well. There's a variety of different, I don't want to say charity, I guess sponsorships. You're getting sponsored. I think GoFundMe's kind of like a sponsorship. You know, but without the people kind of get noticed by the amount that they pay, and if they you know, type a message, but it's really about the person that they're funding. So I've seen them. I see them all the time, and they're for a variety of reasons. Usually people needing money fast. Some are very good, worthy causes. Others kind of shrug your shoulders. I know Barbie Hayden. Barbie Hayden's worked for me in the past. I've booked her on, you know, been the showrunner of shows she's been a part of. She's a hell of a talent. I think her and Carson, both solid people. I'm very entertained by them. If I was booking a show, I would probably, outside of other talent that I've worked with in the past, I would probably utilize them and showcase them. I think they're a good duo, or just as separate talents, but I think together they're a great team. Anyway, I think Barbie's a great talent. She's made quite the name for herself. So when I saw her post, her GoFundMe thing about going to Florida, it seemingly wasn't like, hey, I need the money, but if you want to give money, that'd be great. I don't particularly have a problem with it. I don't really have an opinion about it in the sense of like a strong opinion, like a strong feeling. Like, am I offended by it? No. Now I do know I failed to write down her name, so my apologies. But a veteran female wrestler did have a response. She didn't go check out the page, but she had heard about this and had some choice words, some strong words for Barbie. And I understand where she's coming from, because she has a very valid point about get a job, this is an adult world, this is this, that, and the other. And I agree with that to some extent. I was in a meeting earlier this week, and I heard the phrase like, the question, how bad do you want it? Talking to youth, young talent, talking to students. This is not an easy business. Wrestling is not an easy business. People can say, oh, it's glamorous, this, that, and the other. Those that are on a certain level. I recall being told that in the wrestling business, you're going to put more into it than you're going to get out of it. In other words, you're going to, your bank balance isn't going, it's going to be in the red, because wrestling is not going to nearly give you as much as you're going to give it. It's always that, how bad do you want it? How into it, how dedicated are you? And when it's your passion, you'll do it for next to nothing, or nothing, just for the opportunity. Not necessarily the best way to think about it, because again, passion doesn't pay the bills. Now, you could get lucky. You could be a Stone Cold. You could be a Rock. You could be a Brock Lesnar. You could be an Undertaker. You could be a Ric Flair. You could be a Hulk Hogan. You could be a Seth Rollins. You could be a CM Punk. You could be a Daniel Bryan. Or you could be a guy that's on the independents that never sees that level of success. And you're going to be in the red instead of the black. If you can get the money, if fans are supportive enough of you that not only do they buy your merch or clamor for you to be there, again, buy your merch, download your matches that you may charge them for, or whatever, however it is, more power to you. Personally, when I made the move to Houston, I didn't have money saved up. Well, I had enough like gas money, a little money to get me until I found something temporary. And luckily I had some family here that kind of helped me out in a pinch before I could, once I got a job that ultimately has become the job that, puts a roof over my head. Didn't have a plan, just went. Now I would say this to Barbie. You can move to Florida, and if that's your choice, awesome. Awesome. Get closer to where you want to be. And if you need to be there, by all means, do not let anyone discourage you. At the same time, I would say, if you have an in to NXT, or at least to get a look or try out, I would get that and potentially get a contract. Now you have to realize, Barbie, there's a lot of girls that are blonde, that train, that put a lot of effort into this, that are world-class athletes that you will have to compete with. And if you feel like ultimately you've got something that none of those other women have, then by all means, go. And if you really believe that, I applaud you for your confidence. At the same time, I would ask, why haven't you done that? And if you have done that and they haven't really been as receptive, moving, I don't know if it puts you there. And it may open the doors to other companies that you potentially want to work. Hey, if you want to get out of Texas, but you have traveled a bit, at the end, I wish you luck, because, it is a bit of luck that you need to potentially get to the next level. And I wish you luck. So yeah, this was fun. I'm curious. I probably will do a Hell in a Cell review. See how I did. I was kind of wishy-washy in a couple of those. I think mainly the Cena one. I was curious if they would really pull the trigger with that one. And the Reigns and Wyatt. Everything else, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Oh, and the Dudleys and New Day. So yeah, kind of wishy-washy. But we'll see. We'll see. And if I really was like shocked, I'll let everyone know, because I don't care. I don't predict. I wish I had that capability of predicting the future. Man, crazy. Oh yeah, the Back to the Future Day. Wow, that is crazy. I won't complain that we don't get hoverboards. It is crazy to think of 30 years ago watching that movie and thinking, wow, is any of that stuff going to even be possible? And the fact that some stuff did come into fruition and other stuff's kind of on the horizon, it gives you hope. Gives you hope. But yeah, I'll probably talk about Hell in a Cell review. I don't know what else, if anything. I mean, there's some stuff that I haven't, I need to catch up on. I haven't really been touching the PS4 as of late. Maybe I'll get to this weekend. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. So yeah. Again, I appreciate everyone who takes the time to check my videos out, or I would tell you, if there's a way to download it, try to find it. Maybe another video I'll do that and be like, hey, just download it, because I don't know if I would do a podcast per se. If someone clamored, I think of, like, I hear other people on podcasts, I think, oh man, that'd be kind of something to be in. Or maybe be part of a network so that I could just do mine and it'd be part of this bigger network. I might be interested in doing something like that. I heard a good one with Jamie Aller. I think it was like called The Call Out. It was part of like this offshoot network. I thought that one was pretty solid. And I thought Andy Dalton, I think he was on the Nigel Rabbit show. Dalton's a good guy. He actually brought up beating me for the Uncut title, but he didn't mention me by name, which, I don't know, that's kind of, it's crazy. But a lot of time's passed since then. It was a good time. It was a good time. Although, one day I'll have to tell Dalton what I really wanted to do that night. Anyway, one hell of a way to go. So yeah, I'll keep everyone updated, and if there is a topic or question you want me to address or discuss, feel free to let me know, and I'll be another video in about a week. But as I always like to say, stay cool, stay sexy, stay classy. Enjoy your Sunday fun day. Enjoy every day. Enjoy this journey. Just try to look at the good side, the positive side, the silver lining, because life is too short. That is the ultimate spoiler. It will come to an end. It sucks, but beautiful at the same time. And in the meantime, you just gotta enjoy it. Gotta enjoy this ride. I try my best every day to be thankful for it. To be thankful for the breath that I breathe, to the love in my life, the friends that I have, my position in the wrestling business, my position in work in general. Like, you just gotta enjoy it. And if you do, then you're all of those. And until the next time, later. You should really see the back of this shirt.